Hey everybody, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. I'm going to go through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and the commodities and ETFs that I follow. I'm going to give you my financial opinions, and if you guys are interested, you can definitely check out finding-value.com to become a member of our community. All right, so we're going to dive right in. We'll start with the dollar. And we'll do it right now. So DXY, that's where we're at. Just tracking sideways. No real updates or movements here of which direction we are for surely going. We're up against support, which is that white line that goes way back into the 80s, I think. And we're just sitting on top of it. Yields heading a little bit lower, down 2.27%. And this is the 10-year yield. So again, we're just chopping sideways through here, moving and bouncing on a trampoline, so to speak, but not really making any progress on an upward or downward direction. So we were down today. We were down on the 30-year yield a little bit, 1.22%. The 10-year yield fell a little bit more than the 30-year, leading to a move higher. Generally speaking, this is a tailwind for precious metals. Weaker dollar and a curve that's uninverting and lowering. So that's a big tailwind for precious metals. Bond prices up a little bit, 0.97% today. But again, we've just been moving sideways for the most part, all the way since November of 2022. So we've been tracking sideways with bond prices. Bigger picture view still looks like dog crap as we've broken below this support level and the pressure and momentum's been to the downside. So looking at the 2-year yield, which is the shorter end, that is also selling off quite a bit. To me, it looks like we want to try to go lower. And with lower yields, and the falling of those yields means that there are more people wanting to buy bonds, that there is fear in the market. So looking at the CRB index, we're down a little bit, 0.72. Again, we've been hitting this support level quite a bit on both sides of it. Are we going to head lower, and are we going to sell off if yields were to plunge, copper were to plunge? A lot of these leading indicators, if they were to sell off, and that very well could be the case, and that would mean that we are entering a slowdown period in the markets. CRB to S&P 500 down a little bit today, but we're still holding in there, and we're back at that 0.618 retracement level for wave 2. So that's that pullback there. Gold down a little bit, surprisingly, even with the yield curve uninverting and the dollar down a little bit. I would have guessed that that would have been an up day in gold. But we were down a little bit, $3.3 today. And we were down a little bit in silver, down 0.76% in silver. We are still sitting on top of patterns. Everything still looks good for both of the metals. Platinum decided to not take the day off. It was up $9 today. But we are getting a little bit of these wicks at the top here, meaning that we are encountering some selling pressure at the level that we are at. So are we going to break higher? Are we going to pull back a little bit? You know, I don't play the short-term movements like that, but if I were to make a guess, there is a probability of sideways to slightly lower, given that one little wick at the top and the wick over here. There is some resistance in the area that we are in. That resistance is probably wearing off and eventually will break on through it. XAU to gold ratio, a little bit down today, down 0.67. We do have a wick at the bottom. This doesn't look too bad. We've got a large candlestick here. We came back with 3 candlesticks inside the one, have a little wick at the bottom. We'll see if we can get some buying pressure and push it on up. If yields continue to go down, if the dollar continues to go a little bit lower, those are generally favorable market conditions for gold and silver to go higher. and the gold and silver mining companies may or may not go higher. Remember, they also are subject to inflationary pressures. If gold and silver do not go up enough, those margins can still contract even though gold is at all-time highs. It may not be expensive enough for some of these mining companies to make decent returns. So GDX down a little bit, but doesn't look bad. It's a hammer candlestick. We're right underneath resistance here. We're right underneath it. We're just coming up into that resistance. GDXJ also down a little bit, but it does not look too bad. We've got a little hammer candlestick. We'll see if we can bounce to the upside from here. SILJ down a little bit more. This is a little bit more aggressive of a sell-off than the other gold guys. But again, we'll see where we're going. I did see some of the mining companies sell off today, a little bit more than what I thought they were going to sell off. But it happens. It is the markets. Crude oil down a little bit, 1.25%. Where is this thing going to go? And I'm going to watch it over the next few days. We've got a nice bounce candlestick here. We bounced up, and I said we don't want to see a large selling pressure candlestick. This isn't a large selling pressure candlestick. It's hanging in there, so we'll see where it goes next. Natural gas also selling off a little bit. Again, just it's going to go sideways for a while, base out, and then we'll see, hopefully, the Green Army show up and launch higher over time. That's going to be some time, though. XOP, yeah, you know me, it is also hanging in there. I like that it threw these little wicks at the bottom. Means there's some buyers there coming in, buying up the stock at the current level. So again, we're going to see where this thing goes. Let's watch over the next few trading days and see if we can get some Green Army to show up and maybe some reversal candlesticks. This isn't a strong reversal candlestick. It's just some buyers coming in, buying up some, hopefully, bargains. OIH also down a little bit today. We do have a little wick at the bottom. That's at least somewhat encouraging. That's what this little bounce is. So we sold off, came to like this bottom, and then we came back up throughout the end of the day. That's kind of the short-term look on it. But again, I'd like to see some more buying pressure here before making any sort of decisions. Sprout Physical Uranium Trust up 1%, still hanging in there, still looking good, guys. Still looking good. Not a fantastically strong candlestick, but it's not a weak candlestick either. Uranium up 1.1%. We are coming up against that resistance. So we're right up coming on that resistance. We'll see if we can punch through it, guys. This is real interesting. If we can punch through it, maybe there's some sort of delay on this demand destruction event or whatever people are calling for. But again, let's watch it. Let's see if we can punch through. It still looks really good. URNJ is doing the same thing. It's that same little kind of bloody nose type scenario, which is a continuation pattern, generally speaking. So URNJ also looks good. Fingers crossed. Let's hope the momentum can continue higher. Looking at TAN. TAN's putting in, just moving sideways right below some support resistance line. We've got COPX down 2.71. We got a little wick at the bottom. Not all hope is lost. I like seeing, a little bit bigger wick than that, but it is a wick nonetheless. A little bit bigger, longer picture view. Is this a continuation pattern, or are we going to throw out and come to the downside? Not exactly sure on the short term here. We are seeing some weakness in the metal itself, copper. So let's watch it and see what happens. That's what I'm going to say. Lithium up 1.4%, but we're still putting in this pattern here. This pattern is a bullish pattern. It's a falling wedge pattern. We've got a nice big green candlestick here, smaller selling pressure that generally works its way higher. Looking at the pattern, but we're still inside the pattern. We're still moving around inside of it. We need to punch through. REMX is doing the same thing. REMX actually looks good to punch. We've got a nice, good, big green candlestick here, small selling pressure into a bullish engulfing. That screams higher. It's actually a pretty good setup. here we are moving higher. The green army's starting to show up, and hopefully we can punch through it, get a little bit of momentum going. The S&P 500 up 0.45%. Again, we're not breaking out of anything yet. So we're still waiting. We're waiting on a lot of these to break out of patterns. And then we've got U.S. Composite Index that looks like it's got a turtle head, peeking out saying, hey, what's up? But again, let's punch through it. Let's get some momentum. Let's see that it's a legit breakout versus just a false breakout and then a complete crash rollover. Obviously, a lot of people don't want to see that, but you know what? The market's going to do what the market's going to do. Emerging markets flat. Nothing really much there to present. It's really just been going flat the whole time. We've got XHB, the home builders. Is this a rising wedge that we're going to bust out just like the S&P 500? Difficult to say which direction this is going to go. Some people say, it's a rising wedge. It's going to fall to the downside. Well, we'll see, guys. We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's not too much selling pressure in this thing either. MOO up 0.23%. Again, I think this is going to go lower. That's what it looks like to me, and we could head back to this support level down there. We've got copper down 1.41%. We are on top and sitting above that resistance support level. So nothing's bad. We're just sitting on top of it right now. We just had a down day. Lumber up a little bit, and it looks like we're just moving sideways. A lot of other people would say, oh, lumber's crashing. It's crashing. I'm like, guys, this thing was up in nosebleed territories based off of a supply problem. Of course it's going to come back, and of course things are going to normalize. Now we need to see if it normalizes down here and starts to come back higher. Iron ore down today, but I think we're in a general vicinity that it's going to try to base out in. So that's iron ore there. Nickel down a little bit, but again, it's just been moving sideways. Still looks good, still is expensive. Aluminum down 2%. If the markets do slow down and we see rates and all this stuff slow down, we could see this pull back. Aluminum and copper, they're all base metals and they are all highly tied to the economy. And if we do get a slowdown in the economy, we will get a slowdown in the demand for these metals. So that does not apply to precious metals. Does not apply to precious metals, applies to the base metals. Baltic Dry Index, up 2.57%. I still think this is going to go higher based off of the chart. Although, if the base metals do fall, we could see pressure in the Baltic Dry Index because there's going to be less demand for those base metals. And this is shipping a lot of base metals and stuff like that. Newcastle coal down a little bit. I still think this is going to work its way sideways to base out. Ethereum, it's moving on higher slowly, and it's still looking okay. Same with Bitcoin. Still looks good. Still moving sideways. I think it's going to grind higher until we get a signal that we are breaking to the downside. It still looks fine to me. But that's what we've got from the markets today. And I'd like to see another couple of weeks to see which direction a lot of these things are going to go. If we see a breakdown in copper, we see things start to move down in aluminum, yeah, we could see a pullback in the markets and potential recession. All that stuff is still on the table. Looking at precious metals, they still look good. Uranium undeniably looks the best, and it still has momentum to the upside. And hopefully we can start breaking some of these charts to the upside, guys. That would be fantastic. We do have a platinum midweek update being released here shortly. Look for that if you're a member. If you want to become a member, finding out value, use the word discount, the coupon code for a little bit of a discount on the one. If you're going to monthly, it's a little bit of a discount on the first month. You also get a yearly discount. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. This is Finding Value.